I signed for them after the Euros, and after my first day's training, I was driving home. I was actually thinking, regretting it. What have I done? Like I walked into a circus.
It's amazing, isn't it?
Nathan Murphy, good morning to you. How are you?
Morning, lads.
Reeling from the news that Leo Messi is available?
I know. Jeez. When it started emerging yesterday evening, you're thinking, is this the same old story that we've heard over the last few weeks and months, and even at times over the last years? But this time it's the real deal. If you send a fax, if you go to the effort of finding a fax machine and sending an actual fax,
well, we don't know.
You've got to be serious about things.
We don't know if it's an actual fax. There's a bureau fax. It's like registered mail. You know.
Yeah.
No, let's not let the facts get in the way here.
Right.
Breaking news from an Ireland perspective in the last 24 hours that most of the world has missed because obviously they're not as obsessed about this as we are. James McCarthy has a knock, took a heavy challenge in a game yesterday, which reminds us, Nathan, the Nations League is obviously the first two games that we're about to see played from an Ireland perspective. You are Mr. Nations League. You are Dr. Nathan Murphy, PhD in the Nations League. So tell me, for anybody who isn't as nerdy as you when it comes to this material, does the Nations League matter? Is it a qualifying platform for the World Cup in Qatar? Is that a thing? How does this work?
Yes. The Nations League does matter. And if Stephen Kenny intends to be in this job over the next 4 to 6 years, the Nations League is going to consistently matter because it's going to give him a better chance of qualifying for all the major finals. So the upcoming game, so we've got a game next just over a week away now in Bulgaria, and then Finland. Wales are also in Ireland's group for the Nations League. So those games are important for a couple of reasons. If you want to start going through the various different tournaments, so the next one is obviously the World Cup. The draw for the qualifying stages of the 2022 World Cup take place in November. Now, the actual Nations League isn't relevant to that right now, but FIFA are going to do their seedings on that based on the world rankings in November. So you want to win these games because you want to get high up the world rankings. There's going to be 10 groups. Ireland, as it stands, are ranked 20th in Europe. So right now we will be in the second set of seedings, which is where we want to be. But Slovakia are just above us. Northern Ireland are just behind us. If results weren't to go well in the Nations League, Ireland could easily drop out and end up as third seeds, which is going to make qualification a whole lot more difficult. The Nations League is also relevant for the World Cup qualifiers, may not be that relevant to Ireland. So the way it's going to work, Europe have 13 places at the 2022 World Cup. There's 10 groups. The 10 group winners will all qualify automatically. Obviously a huge ask for the Republic of Ireland to be one of them. The 10 group runners up will all go into a playoff, and the top 2 teams in the Nations League that aren't one of the other 20 will also go into that playoff. So the playoff, the European playoff for the 2022 World Cup is going to be made up of 12 teams fighting it out for 3 places. So they'll go into groups of 4, and the winners of those groups of 4 will qualify. It is complicated. But if Ireland were to win their group, if Ireland were to win this group in the Nations League with Wales, Finland and Bulgaria, they would definitely have a chance of getting one of those places if they needed it, because 20 teams are already going to be taken care of. So you'd imagine they're the teams that are going to be in League A anyways, and the other quality European nations. So if you win your group, if Ireland were to go and win all these games somehow win all these games between September, October, November, and there's potentially 8 of them, you qualify for Euro 2020, you have given yourself a brilliant chance in a number of different ways of qualifying for the World Cup in terms of seedings and that. And also then it leads on to Euro 2024 in Germany, because if Ireland were to win their group, then they move up to League A. They're guaranteed a playoff place. Even if they end up staying in League B, they're pretty much guaranteed a playoff place. It's much like this time around, where even though we didn't even win a game in the Nations League, we still managed to be in this playoff against Slovakia.
Yeah.
But if it was to go disastrously wrong, if it was to be an absolute disaster and we finished bottom again, remember we got an absolute reprieve because they changed the Nations League. So we were meant to have been relegated to League C, but they decided to up the numbers in League B. So we remain in League B. Don't you be laughing. We remain in League B. If we were to be relegated, if this was to be a bit of a shit show and Ireland finished bottom of that group, well, then there's a very good chance you don't even get a playoff.
Okay.
And as I say, you're seeding. I would say if Ireland finished bottom of their group, they're more than likely going to be third seeds for the World Cup draw, and your chances of getting a playoff for either the World Cup or Euro 2024 are far, far more difficult.
Okay, so big games to kick things off, and it looks like we don't know yet what the story is with James McCarthy. So,
actually, I do know what the story is with James McCarthy. I was talking to some people around Palace, and it was just a precaution. He is meant to be perfectly fine, and they don't expect there to be any great issues.
all right, that's breaking news. You buried the lead. That's not unusual, Nathan. But go on, tell us.
It was. I think, as you said, it was a 50-50 challenge. He got a bit of a jolt to his knee, but they just took him off as a precaution. Now, even a precaution, obviously, we're only a week away from the game. The concern will be that maybe the club look at that and think, we don't want him travelling. He's due to link up with the Ireland squad on Sunday, but there's no reason why he can't. The injury isn't in any way serious. So I know he hasn't played for Ireland in, 4 years at this stage. So you got to have a concern, particularly after Stephen Kenny spoke so highly of him. Like, he is going to start these important games without question in the middle of midfield. But it's a preseason friendly. They're not taking any risks, so they're not expecting anything, even short term. Okay. So unless the club make a decision they don't want him to travel, injury-wise, he should be perfectly fine.
Okay, great. That's very, very positive news on a morning when the papers are full of the okay, the other thing that we want to talk to you about, which is rules-based, is, look, I don't want to look like we're desperate or there's the smell of want of us, but just because the situation yesterday presented itself, which merits the conversation. No Jack Grealish in the English squad. Who knows if his behaviour during lockdown had an influence on Gareth Southgate. Gareth Southgate did put Harry Maguire in his squad, by the way, then took him out eventually afterwards. But in the meantime, Jack Grealish made his decision. He made his English-shaped St. George's Cross bedspread bed, and he has been cavorting in that ever since, right? Fair play to him. However, a discussion has begun in the background amongst many nations about whether or not the regulations around international declarations should be as steadfast as they are at the moment. And simultaneous to the hippie crack escapades, the one slipper, one flip-flop moments that Jack Grealish has had, in the background, greater forces have been at work, where conversations are now being had. A rule change is potentially on the cards, is it not?
A rule change is potentially on the cards, but unfortunately, you're only still going to get one flip-flop. So it is not going to be relevant for Jack Grealish. Now, that's not to say rules don't change further down the track again. So as it stands, and the plan isn't for this rule to change, you can only change nationality once. And he's already done that.
I thought you could flip-flop. You can only flip. You can't flip-flop.
Exactly. There's a lot of flipping, there's no flopping. So Jack Grealish played for Ireland at under-21 level. He changed his international clearance to be able to play for England, and he can't change back as it stands. And there's no plans within these negotiations for that to change.
Okay, I thought there was.
What they are talking about is that players who have yet to flip, who have played for their country, so the likes of Declan Rice, but even if you have played 3 games for your first national side before the age of 21, you can potentially move, so long as you haven't played for that international side within the previous 3 years. So it's not going to happen, but somebody like James Maddison, potentially, who has played for England once, if it was to go horribly wrong for him, and he's not in this squad, but somehow over the next 3 years he didn't play for England, potentially he could come and play for Ireland. Likewise,
Michael Obafemi,
who, it is 2 years now since Michael Obafemi made his debut for the Republic of Ireland. Yeah, it is 2 years since that trip to Denmark. Has only played the once. So theoretically, in a year's time, he could decide to move to England or to Nigeria. Now, a lot of this is up for discussion when FIFA meet next month as to the usual friendly games, competitive games. So none of this is set in stone at all. And there's other areas they're looking at in terms of eligibility. And if you've been living in a country for 5 years, I know from reading up on it, there's a lot of excitement in China at the moment with the amount of players they've brought into their league as to how many of them they can naturalise and get playing for their international side. But if this was the rule, and even if you had played a competitive game before the age of 21, hadn't played again for 3 years, that you could potentially move, we could be in a situation in a year's time where Michael Obafemi would have a decision to make, obviously considering everything that's gone on over the last 48 hours. So my feeling on eligibility is we're almost always going to lose out when it comes to England. But that over the coming years, because of the way our country has changed, actually we may end up benefiting from all those second generation, whether they're Eastern European or African, who will be having this tug of war that Michael Obafemi is having as well when it comes to England, Nigeria, the Republic of Ireland, that we'll probably benefit quite a bit from this. But I think when it comes to a straight, players who were born in England, by and large, will probably lose out.
Nathan, there has been some suggestion that a bit of flopping might be allowed. Just some suggestion, like obviously the headline on FIFA's new eligibility rules is the 3-game thing. And if you don't play 3 times, you can swap. Just quoting from a Fox Sports article here, it says FIFA's new flexibility even suggests letting players revert back to their original national team if they never actually play for the second one. And then a second article online here says the proposal also allows for players to revert to their original national teams if they never actually played for the second one that they opted for. So I'm reading that and I'm thinking, okay, this is only a proposal. It would need to go to the floor. It would need to be a concrete proposal. It would also need to pass. But that would mean that Jack Grealish, because he's never played for England, can flop after doing his flip.
That doesn't seem to be among what they're putting forward next month. But again, if this is changing on such a regular basis, maybe in a couple of years, Jack Grealish is gone.
Couple of years too late. Too late.
He ain't coming back. He's not in this England squad. Maybe Gareth Southgate is teaching him a bit of a lesson, but he's going to be in England squads down the track. So Jack Grealish is gone. But it is like, again, because we have had so many from all the way going back to the granny rule to Declan Rice to Jack Grealish to, as I say, the next generation of players who were born in Ireland but whose heritage is in other countries. Like, it's just going to make it so complicated from an FAI point of view at underage level, and we're getting excited about players. They even make their debut, and then you're still worried about, like, everyone was urging Martin O'Neill, get Michael Obafemi on because it's done and we can all relax. Whereas now maybe we can't relax.
Yeah, well, I think that they'll put Obafemi in a squad sooner rather than later, and he's going to play his way into the team because he's hopefully going to start the season the way he finished last season, and it will become impossible for Stephen Kenny not to pick him. Look, let's move on. It's 9:34. Nathan, on a scale of 1 to 10, how likely is Leo Messi to remain at Barcelona?
Well, I've been listening all morning to the many actual experts you've had on the show. It still feels as though it's maybe a 7.
Oh.
No. Yeah, that he's basically just put it out there. If the president resigns, does Messi still go?
I think that he wants to play in a team that's going to be good. And Ronald Koeman's come in and been muscular in his approach to this. And they're getting rid of all his mates. And he's like, I have to go in every day and look at you, Koeman. Look at you. Look at your face. I have to look at your face and go, I have to listen to you telling me what to do. No. I want to go and be with Pep. Or Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, or that German dude who I won't be able to even understand a word he's saying at PSG, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's the romantic in me that thinks Barcelona and Lionel Messi has just got to last, and that this is just that power play, that he's gone further than he's ever gone before. But if he gets what he wants and the president is gone, well, then actually he thinks, does he really want to go to Manchester City? Okay. It adds another string to his bow if he goes to City and he leads them to a first Champions League title. Likewise, if he were to go to Paris Saint-Germain and finally bring them to the promised land. But as much as I'd love to see him in the Premier League.
Quick, 7 out of 10, you're saying. 7 out of 10 he stays at Barcelona.
7.
How likely then is he to join Pep to win a Champions League with Man City? 1 to 10.
Well, do I automatically have to say 3 out of 10?
No, because there's other options too. It's not like, I mean, you could have 120% here if you want.
Yeah, I think if he goes, certainly it does seem as though City are the favourites right now. They probably give him everything he would want.
Rapid fire, out of 10. Come on, play the game.
Out of 10, 8.
To go to City. Matt's not your strong point, baby. Okay, do Manchester United emulate the Glazers' power play, which brought Tom Brady to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and bring Messi to Old Trafford? Out of 10.
3.
Will Messi go to Paris Saint-Germain and rejoin Neymar and get to play with Mbappe? What a team. Out of 10.
7.
Okay. Is there any chance the jokers in the pack, the free-spending Inter Milan, bag the superstar? 1 out of 10. 1 to 10.
5.
Okay. How disappointing would it be if he goes to a team in the Gulf, MLS, or China? Out of 10.
10.
Yeah. Here at OTB Sports, we're monitoring reports that Josie Mourinho wants to bring Matt Doherty to Spurs. First place I saw this was Neil O'Riordan in The Sun. This is a live possibility. Would it be a good move?
It'd be a great move for Matt Doherty, though. What system are Tottenham going to play that will get the best out of Matt Doherty? So Wolves, as we know, are one of, if not the best drilled team in the years, who are built around using Matt Doherty as often as they can possible out in that right wing-back position. He's built up a great relationship with Adama Traore. Tottenham, are they going to play three at the back? Seems highly unlikely. So he's going to play as a more traditional right-back, which takes away a huge amount of his talents and his goal-scoring ability, unless they were somehow thinking of playing him on the right side of midfield. So from a purely footballing point of view as to where he fits in, maybe you can ask some questions, but the chance to go to Spurs and to play alongside Harry Kane and Dele Alli, I don't think it's one he would turn down. Obviously, Wolves are very much interested in Ainsley Maitland-Niles, which I suspect is where a lot of this is coming from, that Maitland-Niles could play in that spot as well and could be a direct replacement for Matt Doherty, which may open up a spot. I'd be shocked if he was to turn down the chance to go to Spurs if it came. There's a better chance. As good and as impressive as Wolves have been, as much as I love watching them, I think Spurs is still a better bet if you want to go and play Champions League football over the next couple of seasons.
All right, Nathan, good stuff. Thanks for joining us this morning and for breaking some news in the middle of your long, boring diatribe about the Nations League. It was educational, though. You broke some news. Well done, fella.
Try my best.
We're proud of you.